Just for one moment. Just wait. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this webinar come conference call hosted by IIFL Securities. My name is Abhimanyu Sofat. Today, we are going to talk about the strikes which are done by the Indian Air Force in Pakistan and what could be the possible impact of the same for the markets in India, considering what has happened today, as well as the outlook going forward, taking into consideration that we are just few months away from a very important general election. So the focus here is going to be on the stock market. However, just to start off, let's talk about what actually happened and from a historical perspective, why something which happened today is quite different related to what's happened in the history. Now, if you look at it, how the markets have behaved whenever we have these kind of geopolitical risk. The last one, if you talked about the 2611, or earlier as well, whether it's the Kargil war, what we have seen is that from a 3 months or a 6 months perspective, there's hardly any difference which happens to the stock market in case you know we have these kind of strikes. The only time when we saw a significant impact on the stock market was during the nuclear test, which was done by the Bajpayee government. At that particular point of time, the market had come down by close to around 33% for both 3 months period, and after that has stabilized at that level. So from a 6 months perspective also, the market was down close to 33% at that particular point of time. Now, why are we talking about all these things? So the important thing is that today what India did was they went as per the media reports, whatever we've heard, you know they went into POK, and from there they hit a target which was right inside Pakistan. So since the target was in Pakistan, it is for the first time that India has done this kind of attack after the 1971 war. From that perspective, what has happened today is quite critical. Now, considering this, how should we as investors, you know, react, and what are the kind of sectors that we should invest in or stocks that we need to invest in? The assumption here being that the volatility is going to be quite high going forward. So if you concur with that particular view, then the idea of this session is to help you to navigate the market with that kind of a thought process. So first of all, if you look at what happened in the Nifty over last couple of months, has been that the Nifty has been more or less range bound. But and we had seen that a lot of people have been selling off options. So you sell options because you want to eat the premiums. So you sell either the call option or the put option, and when you do that, obviously you make money on a regular basis. However, whenever there is this kind of an event which happened today, when you saw a sharp downward tick on Nifty, you see that people lose significant amount of their capital, and a lot of the losses which happen in that particular point of time are significantly higher than the capital that they've invested. So we believe that shorting of options, which a lot of retail investors do, is quite a risky strategy. And considering that where the markets are right now, we would advise you not to do that. It may be that you may not make money in buying options as much as you do in shorting, but when you lose money, you lose significantly higher money in selling of options. Now, considering where the index is, from our perspective, what you can do probably going forward is that you buy the 10,850 call and put option, as well as sell the 11,200 call option and 10,500 put option. So what we are trying to say is that we believe that the Nifty is going to be range bound at the downside by around 250 points, and even on the upside by similar amount. So for that reason, we are saying that you should look at this. If you look at the total premium paid, that would be close to around 240 odd rupees, and the stop loss should be around 150 bucks, and the target around 350 rupees. So this, we according to us, will be a better strategy to adopt. The assumption in this strategy is that there could be some more volatility happening, either because of more military action done by Pakistan, or there's some more escalation which happens in the market. In terms of from a sectoral perspective, what is it that you need to invest in? So clearly, I think so the defense related stocks should do well. So something like a Bharat Forge, which we saw a decent move, today in a down market, it was up some 2.5-3%. Should do well because the non-auto exposure there is close to 1,000 crores. We also believe that IT sector also can do well because as such, they are not that much impacted by what's happening on the border. Thirdly, the media companies. Since most of you will be clued down to what's happening on, in the media. So whether it is stocks like, Z, whether it is something like TV Today, those are the kind of companies which should do well going forward as well, because, everyone is looking at news, and news is a important consumption in terms of time for us, even, the election coming up. So media stocks also should take large part of time for all of us, and for that I think so media also is another sector which could do pretty well going forward for investors. So now let's open the session. We'll be happy to take questions, whether on con call or whether some people have asked some questions via YouTube. We'll be happy to take those. Moderator, are there any queries?
Yes, sir. Your participants who have any queries, kindly press star and one in your telephone keypad and wait for your turn to ask your questions. I repeat, dear participants, if you have any queries, kindly press star and one in your telephone keypad and wait for your turn to ask your questions. The first question is from 917878012435. Please proceed. Sir, Bhavesh here from Rajkot. I need to ask you, what's your view on mid-cap and small-cap stocks?
So in terms of mid cap and small cap stocks, clearly I think so volatility will lead to some of these stocks crashing in case there's an escalation in the market in the market because say Pakistan tomorrow does something. So from that perspective, you could see some kind of a correction in those stocks. Having said that, I think so most of the mid cap small cap stocks have already corrected by around 40%. So I think so from that perspective, what we have been telling clients is that, if you want to allocate 100 rupees, so don't wait till post election to allocate the entire money. Probably invest right now 20 to 25 rupees right now in the market. And in terms of weightage, we will recommend people to invest, 2/3 of the money in larger caps and 1/3 of the money in small and mid caps. Because considering that we are in a volatile situation, it doesn't make sense to allocate everything at this particular point of time. So there are always good opportunities in terms of valuation which are available right now in the mid cap. So if there is a specific stock that in your mind and you have done good research on that, I can tell you that you can look at taking benefit of such correction. Like for example, today morning we saw a significant correction, and those are the right time to add positions in the stock that you like.
Okay,
Thank you.
Dear participants, if you have any queries, kindly press star and one in your telephone keypad and wait for your turn to ask your questions.
So moderator, yeah, if there will be some, are there any questions which are there, or we'll move to the YouTube questions?
One more question.
Okay, we'll just take that and then we will go.
Okay, sir. The next question is from 01142259038. Please proceed. Abhimanyu, this is Jain.
Yeah, hi Jayant.
Okay. I think in today's newspaper there was this article which came with regard to the change of price to earning multiple of Nifty, because with the exit of HPCL, which was at 6 or 7 price to which is almost at 48 or 50. So what is the implication on the overall Nifty valuation? So obviously, historically, we know that trailing P used to be 22, 23, where bull market stocks or where we average out. So with this change, what is going to be the implication on the market valuation?
So, Jayant, when we look at the PE of the index, we normally try to remove two major components. One is oil companies, because at one, what happens is that whenever there's a large swing, there's a big inventory gain or loss which happens on their bottom line. And secondly, is PSU banks, because there also we see large swings happening. So if you consider, what's happened in terms of HPCL moving out and Britannia coming, in terms of the overall index, I don't think so. The impact is going to be more than 1x in terms of the multiple change, because these indices are market cap weighted. So considering that that around 27 stocks out of Nifty 50 are less than 1% weight. Okay, and this Britannia also is not very heavy in terms of weightage, right? It is just joining the index.
Yes.
So I think so we should not be too worried that the multiple of the index has gone up. I think so the other way to look at it is that the growth rate also in Britannia could be higher. So in that perspective, it's not something that one needs to worry about in terms of market multiples. See, if you year to date, our market is almost down by 1.5% or so, whereas most of the other markets are up. I'm sure you know that yesterday Shanghai market was up some 5.5% odd. So most of the global markets are rallying. People are just waiting that the kind of growth that they were expecting will, in this year, once the commodity prices have come down, that is taking time. So people will wait for that. And once that happens, I'm sure that the market re-rating will happen. People are sitting on sidelines with money once the elections are over. I think so. And with, yes, obviously, with what has happened today morning, I'm not a political analyst, but clearly what one hears on, media is that clearly the incumbents will at least benefit by at least 70 to 100 seats because of what has happened today. So from an economic standpoint, there could be more stability happening. But from obviously, if we get more opportunities to look at investing because of some further action and you see a decline in market, we would look at that opportunity to get into the market, because historically nothing significantly changes for a 3-year investment period because of some escalation which has happened with Pakistan, at least in last 30 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
The next question is 917389920417. Please proceed.
सर मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है, इस मार्केट सिनेरियो के अंदर कौन से ऐसे 5 स्टॉक आपकी तरफ से रहेंगे, बैंकिंग स्टॉक और अपने अदर मिड कैप स्टॉक, जो आने वाले इलेक्शन के बाद रिटर्न देंगे?
सो बैंकिंग के अंदर क्लियर कंसेंसस है कि अर्निंग्स के हिसाब से आईसीआईसीआई बैंक हुआ, एक्सिस बैंक हुआ, एसबीआई हुआ, ये तीनों स्टॉक काफी अच्छा करेंगे. मिड कैप की बात करें तो समथिंग लाइक अपोलो टायर्स अच्छा चल सकता है. ठीक है. आईटी सेक्टर की बात करें तो टेक महिंद्रा एक स्टॉक है, वो काफी अच्छा लग रहा है हमें. एचसीएल टेक भी अच्छा लग रहा है. तो ये सारे स्टॉक्स जो हैं वो काफी अच्छा करेंगे. और अगर गवर्नमेंट का कैपेक्स अभी इंप्रूव होगा तो लार्ज कैप के हिसाब से एल&टी, लार्सन एंड टूब्रो, उसको भी हम देख सकते हैं. So we don't, in PSU banks हमारा व्यू ये है कि सिर्फ एसबीआई देखना चाहिए और किसी को नहीं देखना चाहिए अभी, क्योंकि मार्केट में अभी हमें लगता है कि उन बैंक्स को अभी टाइम लगेगा अपना ग्रोथ वापस लाने के लिए. ग्रोथ कैपिटल उनके पास नहीं है इन बैंक्स के लिए. तो प्राइवेट सेक्टर के जो बैंक्स है, दे शुड डू एक्सीडिंगली वेल ओवर नेक्स्ट 1 ईयर, क्योंकि एनबीएफसीज के अंदर भी इशू चल रहा है. तो प्राइवेट सेक्टर बैंक्स बहुत अच्छा चलेंगे. थैंक यू. Moderator?
Yes, sir.
Other questions done?
Then yes, sir, there is no more
Okay,
question.
no problem. So let's start with the questions which have come on YouTube. So Sylvia, if you can tell me some of the questions.
We have a question from Mr. Srinivas. Where is Nifty heading in next couple of days?
So as we told you, our view is that in case of Nifty, it is languishing in a range. However, we do expect that if there is an escalation happening, then the Nifty range could expand. So if the Nifty moves by more than 250 points, then the strategy that we told, which is that you buy at the money call and put options, and you sell call and put options. So call of 11,200 call option and sell 10,500 of put option. That is the strategy that we are recommending for Nifty trades. किसी ने मुझे बोला है हिंदी में ये चीज बताइए. तो हिंदी में हम ये बोलना चाह रहे हैं कि हमें लगता है कि निफ्टी जो है वो अभी 250 पॉइंट से ऊपर और 250 पॉइंट नीचे से ज्यादा मूव आ सकता है अगर पाकिस्तान के साथ इंडिया का एस्केलेशन बढ़ता है. इसके लिए अभी 10,850 का कॉल और पुट ऑप्शन खरीद सकते हैं, 11,200 का पुट ऑप्शन बेचें और 10,500 का 11,200 का कॉल ऑप्शन बेचें और 10,500 का पुट ऑप्शन बेचें. तो इस पर्टिकुलर स्ट्रैटेजी में आपका प्रॉफिट जो है लॉस जो है वो लिमिटेड रहेगा और प्रॉफिट जो है वो काफी ज्यादा अगर मूवमेंट आ जाएगी तो आपका बहुत अच्छा प्रॉफिट बन जाएगा.
The next question is by Mr. Atul. Should we decrease portfolio in general and invest in debt funds?
So in case of debt funds, see, it depends on what kind of risk you want to take. So a simple investment in a liquid fund is something that you should always have क्योंकि कुछ पैसा आपके पास साइड में होना चाहिए, right? So you need to have some money allocated there. I would not expect you to invest money in a credit fund or a high duration fund or an accrual fund right now because there are some challenges which debt market is currently facing in terms of corporates' ability to pay to debt funds. So I would rather focus on you to put money in a liquid fund rather than putting in a high duration fund. In terms of allocation, I'm not sure about your current allocations, but it is always advisable to have at least 15 to 20% of money as a gunpowder, which you can use in using any market volatility and add positions in stocks. So it doesn't make sense always to be 100% invested in equity for investors.
The next question is by Mr. Senthil. What is your view on pharma sector at this situation?
So on the pharma sectors, we believe that what's happening in the US generic market is that a lot of people are filing new ANDAs, but we see that the pricing pressure may not come down too much. So there will some growth, which will their pricing will improve slightly. So from our perspective, our top favorites would be one will be an Aurobindo, second will be a Biocon, and third will be a Torrent Pharma. These will be the three picks in the pharma sector. Other than that, we have a negative view on all the other pharma companies within the sector because we believe that what's happening is earlier when they used to launch a product in US, they used to have a significant amount of exclusivity for a generic for a period of 2-3 months. Now, for example, take the example of Dr. Reddy. So Suboxone has been launched, but there are four other players who have launched Suboxone. So the opportunity as such comes down. So for that reason, we are right now negative on the sector, but stock specific, we continue to remain bullish in the three stocks that we talked about.
The next question is by Mr. Narayan. What do you do before elections with regards to investing?
So with regard to investing, it depends on what is your mindset. As we already said, there are some stocks which are becoming cheaper right now. So if you have money right now, allocate please 20 to 25% of money so that you don't feel left out. In case that we see a big up move in the market, it is quite possible that before the election, if the market goes up before the election only, then you might miss out. And we keep so a lot of time, not investing itself is a big risk, right? But at the same time, there are risks on the downside as well that what happens. But the likelihood of something happening major in terms of election now is slowly receding with today's action by the government against Pakistan. We see that clearly. You will see an better significant improvement in share of NDA, which might positively impact the overall market sentiment from a 4 to 5 year kind of an angle.
Mr. Aki would like to know something about cement sector.
So in cement sector, the interesting thing which has happened is that in South, despite a significant underutilization of capacity, we have seen in last 2 3 weeks an increase in pricing happening in the sector. We need to see whether it is sustainable or not. In terms of which are the kind of stocks that we like, we are more or less bearish on the sector. It is only Heidelberg Cement, which is one of the small cap companies that we like, and other than that, we have an accumulate on Dalmia Cement. For the rest of the stocks, whether it is ACC, Ambuja, or Ultratech, we have a negative view because we believe that going forward, their margins are going to come down and there's significant increase in capacity in the sector, which has happened. So we are not at all bullish on the sector from next 1 year perspective.
Mr. Gopal would like to know your view on DHFL and Coal India.
So DHFL from our perspective is a complete avoid. We know what has happened today. ICRA yesterday has again downgraded the company. We would wait for what happens on the investigation side from the government and there are other regulators who are looking at this particular company. So right now it's an avoid to us. I don't think so. You should do bottom fishing in this particular stock because we don't know what the actual situation is. So very hard to say what one needs to do. About Coal India, see, the issue is that the stock has become cheap, but what happens is that there are two main revenue streams when they sell coal. One is they sell it through e-auction, and one normally through long-term contract that they sell. So when the coal price start to increase, the government forces them not to sell through e-auctions where they make better margins. So I think so. Coal India is more of a tactical kind of a buy from a positional perspective that you can look at it. That there is hardly any downside in the stock considering the high dividend yield of the company. But I don't see it to be a multi-bagger or something which is likely to go up 50% because as long as it's constrained by government policy in terms of pricing, you're going to always have a depressed earnings from a structural angle in this particular stock.
Tech Mahindra buyback view.
So in case of Tech Mahindra buyback, we are quite positive and we like the story going forward as well. In terms of growth also, despite the company is expected to grow at 12 to 13% in terms of bottom line growth, but the results of the company in last quarter were very good. So I think so it's a good stock to own. So even if from a buyback perspective you want to buy the stock, it's we recommend that it's a good strategy.
By Mr. Kamal, how share market is affected with politics?
So how share market is affected with politics is that politics sometimes leads to a better sentiment. That is clearly reflected what happened in 2014. That when there was a change in government, so then there was a positive impact. When Manmohan Singh's UPA 2 came into power, then the market had hit a upper circuit on the first day when because no one expected Congress to do that well at that particular point of time. So clearly, politics does have a role. Does it have a role from a long-term structural angle? I think so. The significance of that is reducing over a period of time. So the only structural change which has really impacted the capital market or economy in a big way was probably 91 when Manmohan Singh was the finance minister and Narasimha Rao was the prime minister, and we agreed to liberalize our economy. That was one thought-provoking kind of a change which happened, which had a long-term ramification for the market. As such, elections typically the impact of those are for a 2 to 3 months kind of a period. But the perception, as I said earlier, was that perception happens is that okay, if a new government comes, it's stable, so next 4 5 years is going to be fine. But the real impact that only is there for only 2 3 months. Post that, it's all about corporate earnings and what actually gets delivered.
The next question is by Mr. Sahu. What is your view on metal stocks?
So in case of metals, I think so clearly there's an advantage for the ferrous company relative to the non-ferrous ones. Recently, what we have seen is that the iron ore prices have gone up, and because of that, the steel prices have also gone up by most of the companies. So I think so. It's kind of a mixed bag. But once if one sees that and it looks like that China does have an agreement with US over the next couple of weeks. Once that thing is done, clearly metal sector can rebound. So the question now to be asked is how does the Chinese economy do? Clearly, the car sales numbers which are coming in China are very bad. So if we see a downturn, then that is likely to impact even companies in India as well. So I would say that would I be very positive on say, metal stocks? The answer is no. But yes, if you need to have a equal weight kind of a thing for metals sector, because there are some tailwinds which the sector is experiencing recently.
The next question is by Mr. Jagdish. Any idea on Tata Motors?
So Tata Motors, already has rebounded by more than 30 odd percent from the low. So I think so. If you have a patience to wait for 2 3 years, please continue holding the stock. I know it's a tough thing because they show a big figure of 30,000 crores, but large part of that is non-cash kind of loss. Going forward, the key question is going to be whether we see an improvement in the Chinese economy and the fall in number that we are seeing that doesn't happen. And if there is a break exit, what will be the impact of that? Historically, what has happened is whenever there is an event which is being talked about for a long duration, and when it actually happens, there is no negative impact of such a thing. So one needs to have a faith in the story. Would I tell anyone today to seriously look at buying more in the stock? I would say that only a high risk guy should invest in the stock, because obviously there are a lot of challenges in the company. So you know fix up a price and then look at exiting at that particular price point, because challenges will continue in this particular stock going forward as well.
The next question is by Ms. Rama. Please share your views on Sun TV and Z Entertainment.
So I think so. In case of Z Entertainment, clearly today we saw that the price has rebounded to from where it fell after the pledging issue was there. So I think so. Who ultimately acquires a strategic stake in Z is going to be a key thing. Whether promoter will be able to take care of all his existing liabilities, that could bring in a trigger. In terms of growth, we have seen that whether you talk about the advertising growth or subscription growth, that is more in excess of 20% even in last quarter. So the numbers of Z were never an issue as such, and I think so. It's a good stock to buy, and considering that the stock has already gone above those levels, I think so. You can clearly look at adding positions in Z.
The next question is please suggest some low risk stocks, please, for investments.
So low risk stocks can typically happen from sectors where profit growth is more stable. So I would say something in the IT side, and Infosys, Tech Mahindra. Those are the kind of companies that you can look at, or something like an Nestle could be one. ITC is another stock that we like. It is trading at a 12-time multiple. Earning growth is going to be around 12%. So that is another company that we like. So those are the kind of stocks that one should look at investing from a safety perspective.
The next question is please share your views on ADAG Group.
So on ADAG Group, our view is that right now there's a lot of stuff happening on the Supreme Court side, on the NCLT side. So as of now, we would like to avoid most of the companies which are there of the group, because there is no clarity. Once there is a complete clarity which comes from the and ADAG Group is able to get out of the current problem that they are facing, then only we look at advising investors to get into this particular uh, group stocks in this particular market scenario. We don't believe that it is the right time for you to do bottom fishing in stocks like Reliance Communication, because there are too many risks which are involved in buying these stocks.
The next question is by Pinku Sharma. What about Graphite India?
So in case of Graphite India, I think so there is a structural change which happened over last 3 years in terms of how the arc furnace route was being used for manufacturing of steel, and you had the tailwind of the Chinese stopping some of the manufacturers because of pollution issues. What we are seeing clearly is that there have been challenges now for the Indian players also. There have been some pollution related issues with them, and some international companies may not be that happy. So considering those things, I don't think so. You need to bottom fish these stocks because they are down by 50 to 60%. I think so. The important thing is to look at the price movement of their product that they are selling, and if we see a significant rebound in that, then only it would make sense to bottom fish these companies. So maybe these companies might throw a very good dividend in the coming couple of quarters because of the significant amount of profit that they have delivered. But as such, we would not recommend you to bottom fish these stocks at this particular juncture, despite the sharp correction in the stocks.
The next question is by Rama. After surgical strike, market boomed. Is there possibility after IAF strike now?
So after surgical strike, I think so the market was down some 5% or something in a 3 month period. It was not something that the market boomed big time. You saw the market had fallen first. Okay, I think so. It's inconsequential. The only difference is that if there is a retaliation which happens, what will happen in this particular case? That is the key thing to look at. From the market perspective. Moderator, do you have any questions? Otherwise, we'll end the
Yes,
call.
sir. Yes, sir. I have one more question.
Yeah.
The next question is from 9022727690. Please proceed. I repeat the number 9022727690. Please proceed. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think about the small stocks, small company stocks? What is their future? And also, how's mid caps mutual fund gonna perform? And what is the role of large cap and blue chips out there?
So see, what has happened is a lot of stocks have corrected, but has the earnings caught up in last 2-3 quarters for a lot of small cap, mid cap companies? The answer to that is clearly no. That revenue growth for companies has come, but bottom line growth has still not come for a lot of companies. And as a result of that, what we feel is that investing in mid caps, some particular stocks have become more desirable to buy at this particular price point, but don't buy all of them at this particular point of time. You talked about the mid cap mutual funds. A lot of those may be in red, but I think so. If you're talking about an SIP that you already have, I think so. You should continue with those SIPs. Investing in a staggered way at this current market levels is not a bad thing, whether it is doing a SIP in a stock or whether it is doing in a mutual fund. So what has happened is that people are waiting on the sidelines with money. Some part of why a lot of stocks have corrected a lot is because of liquidity related issues. NBFCs had issues, so there are a lot of technical factors. One knows, like for example, in case of Z, for example, take that point that pledging issue happened, the stock corrected, but since numbers are coming well, so the stock in within a month period is back to where it was there. So let's not get too panicky about a lot of stocks coming down. Have a disciplined approach of investing a particular amount of money in the market regularly, and not look at what are the market levels, and try to time the market, because timing is pretty difficult for everyone.
Apart from the I have one more question.
Yeah. Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, and which stocks can be multi-bagger stocks? So, like, if I'm considering to invest particularly money for next 15, 20 months, not months, but 15, 20 years, so which stocks I have to invest, and which will be the best time to invest?
So I think so. It's a very see. A lot of people ask this multi-bagger question, but it's a very personalized question, because India, as such as a country, grows from a nominal GDP perspective by at least 10 to 12% every year. So if you have a 10 to 12% growth, large part of investment that you do will do well. The question is, will those companies survive 20 years? I think that is the more important question to ask, because what has happened is that because of new technological shift happening, some businesses may become redundant after 4 5 years. So that is a critical question to be asked. I think so. Finding 20-year stocks may be difficult, but let me say it this way. Say, for example, if you're eating food or something, right, that business will continue, and FMCG product will continue. Maybe the way it is sold gets changed, right? So whether you talk about an ITC, so a person who's having cigarette probably will have cigarette later on as well, right? So those are the kind of businesses, or something like a Nestle, where there's a product like Maggie you might continue to have even for next 15 20 years, or a Pidilite is there, or a Marico is there, which is into hair oil. So those are the kind of businesses which have a long period in terms of which have been there for a long period and are expected to be there for a longer period going forward as well. From a 20-year angle, can they make big returns in next 2 3 years? I don't think so that is possible, because obviously they are trading at high multiple, because people recognize that these are businesses where profit growth will be there going forward as well. Okay.
All right. Thank you,
Yeah,
Mr.
thanks.
Abhimanyu. Thank you
Bye.
very much.
Moderator, are there any other questions?
There is no more queries, sir.
Sure. So thanks a lot, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of IIFL Securities. Thanks a lot for joining this webinar plus a con call, and we'll be regularly doing such kind of calls going forward as well. If there's some topic that you want us to talk about, we'll be happy to take that going forward as well. Thank you.
Shall I conclude, sir?
Yes.
Dear participants, this concludes the conference call. You may all disconnect your lines now. Have a pleasant